Government corruption has never been more prevalent or caused more harm. It's why extremism is on the rise. It's why the financial gap between the haves and have-nots has never been wider. And it's why our planet is at risk of an extinction level tragedy. That's why I need your help to keep exposing the truth about the rot on both sides of the aisle. Become a supporter or a friend of the show today by clicking on the coffee link in the description box below. Friends of the show join me on a Zoom hangout once a month, and you guys can ask me any questions you want, and I can get to know you better. But the most important reason to help is to keep the show alive. Together, we can and will save our country and our planet. Thanks in advance and enjoy the show. Hey everyone, I have some really big news to share. So the first fake candidate trial concluded last week with a guilty verdict and some bombshell news that involves numerous Republican Party members and political operatives. Here's a brief recap in case you're kind of new to this 2020 ghost candidate / fake candidate story. Various right-wing dark money groups paid large sums of money to help boost fake candidates in Florida. These candidates were promoted as progressive, anti-establishment Democrats when in reality, they were Republicans. And in at least 2 of the 3 cases, these fake candidates were paid to do this, to allow their names to be used in a scheme to siphon votes away from the real Democrat in the race, whereby allowing the Republican to win. So this particular trial involves Seminole County Republican Chairman Ben Paris. At the time of the 2020 election, Paris was working for Republican Jason Brodeur. He was running to unseat a Democrat named Patricia Sigmund. Brodeur was. So Paris hired a woman named Justine Iannotti to pretend to run as a progressive Democrat against Sigmund. Paris also illegally donated to Iannotti's campaign under his cousin's name, which is basically the only charge he was facing in this trial. Because it's not illegal, as I've told you guys before, to run a fake candidate. You just can't pay them. And you can't illegally contribute to a campaign under somebody else's name. So Iannotti, the woman who pretended to be a Democrat, her campaign immediately raised suspicion because, as with other ghost candidates, Iannotti did no campaigning. She raised very few campaign funds. She refused to take part in debates or to do media interviews. But what stood out the most with her was the fact that she took steps to move to another country before the election. That's kind of a big red flag. She actually filed for citizenship in Sweden prior to the 2020 election. And then she moved there shortly after the election. So after more than a year of speculation, Iannotti was arrested in May. She was arrested along with Paris and then a GOP operative named Eric Fogelsong. So Iannotti agreed to cooperate. And at last week's trial, she testified that Paris was the one who hired her for this whole scam. So the jury found Paris guilty. He was immediately sentenced. He got only 12 months of probation and 200 hours of community service. And then Paris was also ordered to pay approximately $42,000 to cover the cost of the investigation. So Paris' defense attorney told the Orlando Sentinel that he plans to leave politics. He has to resign as the Republican chair for Seminole County. Womp womp and thoughts and prayers. As for Iannotti and Fogelsong, they're still facing charges, and some of which are felonies. But this Paris guy appears to be just the tip of the iceberg because there was a bombshell dropped, which implicates sitting congressman and current Florida candidate Jason Brodeur. That was the guy he worked for, remember. Brodeur, who, by the way, is friends with Congressman Matt Gaetz, is said to have known about this whole fake candidate scheme in advance. As you all know, Gaetz's former BFF, Joel Greenberg, is looking at more than a decade in prison for sex trafficking of a minor and various other horrific crimes. So Greenberg agreed to a cooperation deal. So it was revealed in court just this last week because of this case that Greenberg took part in meetings with Brodeur and others in which they discussed this plot to run a fake candidate to get Brodeur into office. Greenberg told investigators, quote, Brodeur was there, present in the conversation, just like he'd be sitting around this table, and that he, quote, absolutely knew about the ghost candidate plot. Although he did concede that they didn't discuss specifics in front of Greenberg, he said, quote, not specific like, hey, we're going to do this at this day and this person will be used. It was more put together based upon a series of meetings and occurrences that I was present, of them discussing strategies. And then Greenberg alleges that Paris and Fogelsong took part in these meetings as well. And he gave the names of many other people who would have been present and who can corroborate his allegations. He said all of this under oath. And it was previously reported that Gates and a real estate developer named Chris Dorworth, who's very in with the whole Florida politics crowd, they also took part in a conversation about finding a ghost candidate to run against Brodeur's Democratic opponent. Now, all of these men deny knowing anything about this. They deny taking part in any fake candidate conversation or schemes. But it makes me wonder if this is why Gates hasn't been charged yet. I mean, we know that the Gates case has sprouted all kinds of new investigations, and all of these people are connected. In fact, Greenberg told the investigators that the political group of which he was a prominent member operated like a, quote, mafia. He described political operatives shifting money around, he said, and typically it was cash, and that they would hire each other for fake jobs where there was no actual work involved. Money laundering, basically. Greenberg also said that Frank Artiles was present at these mafia political meetings. Artiles, you guys may recall, he's the other person who's been indicted for another ghost candidate scheme in which he paid a fake candidate nearly $45,000 to siphon votes away from the Democrat. And in that case, it worked. The Republican is in office right now, Ileana Garcia. According to the Orlando Sentinel, quote, Greenberg described Artiles and Fogelsong as behind-the-scenes operators who insulated the politicians like Brodeur they helped elect. I have a feeling that when this Gates thing goes down, when he is finally arrested, this is going to be like the Hoover Dam bursting. I believe that his arrest is going to be just one of dozens, and they're all going to be connected to not just each other, but various skeezy, underhanded political schemes like this. It's probably going to drain half of the Florida swamps. And here's the thing. They're going to try and paint Greenberg as a liar. Right? They're going to say, oh, the guy's a proven liar. He was cheating on his wife. He cheated all the taxpayers. He's making this stuff up clearly to get off. But there were a lot of questions asked of him. I read the 119-page transcript. And if he didn't know the answer to something, or he didn't know about someone, or he didn't know someone, he admitted it. So why would he only implicate some people like Brodeur, but not others? If his goal is to just get off and get as low as a sentence as he can, he would just make stuff up about everyone. Why would he deny knowing certain people or certain plots or overhearing certain conversations? He would just make them up. And like I said, he has other witnesses that can corroborate this. So anyway, guys, I will let you know when I hear more. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.